My stroke started with one strange symptom, one I didn't pay attention to at the time, dismissed as nothing serious. Sound familiar, doesn't it? How often do we, after reaching a certain age, start blaming sudden dizziness, slight numbness, or fleeting vision problems on fatigue, the weather, or anything else? Anything but something serious? We tell ourselves, it'll pass, or I'll rest, and everything will be fine. But it's precisely these seemingly trivial signals that can hide a formidable precursor to a stroke, a condition where, for some reason, blood stops flowing to a part of our brain, our main command center. Imagine a busy highway carrying vital supplies, and suddenly, a traffic jam, an accident. Or, conversely, a burst pipe, a hemorrhage. Brain cells, deprived of nutrients and oxygen, begin to die within minutes. And the most insidious part is, sometimes the first signals of this impending catastrophe are so quiet, so subtle, that we simply don't hear them, or don't want to hear them. Especially when we're a bit older, and we're used to blaming various ailments on age. But today, I want to tell you why ignoring such oddities is like playing Russian roulette with your health and future. We'll talk about those non-obvious signs that can be precursors to a stroke and how crucial it is to react to them in time. I promise that after our conversation, you'll better understand your body's signals, feel more confident, and perhaps, one day, this knowledge will save a life, yours or someone close to you. No complex medical terms, just real-life stories and simple, understandable steps. Stay with me until the end. This is truly important. So, the first important step, stop ignoring sudden, unexplained numbness, tingling, or weakness, especially if it occurs only on one side of the body. You know, it could be your face, arm, or leg. Often we think, oh, my leg just fell asleep, or I slept awkwardly. My arm went numb. I remember Michael's story. He was 68 years old, sitting in his favorite armchair reading the newspaper, when he suddenly felt his left arm become somehow alien, heavy like cotton, and a slight tingling ran down his fingers. He shook his arm, massaged it. It seemed to pass after a couple of minutes. Well, there you go, he thought. I must be getting old. My circulation isn't what it used to be. He even got a little angry at himself for this momentary weakness. Michael had always prided himself on his activity, walked a lot, tried to eat right. The thought of bothering doctors over such a trifle seemed ridiculous to him. But a few days later, he casually mentioned it to his daughter on the phone. She, fortunately, was insistent and persuaded him to make an appointment with his GP. Do you know what they found out? This trifle was a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, what people commonly call a mini-stroke. It's like a warning shot before the real battle. A blood vessel in his brain was briefly blocked, but then blood flow restored itself. Michael was in shock. He realized how close he had come to the edge. Doctors explained to him that this numbness was his brain's cry for help. Imagine a thin thread carrying life to your brain cells. And for a moment, a knot formed on this thread. It dissolved, but it's a signal. The system isn't right. Ignoring this is like ignoring a flashing red light on your car's dashboard. You wouldn't just keep driving, hoping it goes out on its own, would you? After this incident, Michael became much more attentive to himself. He was prescribed therapy to control his blood pressure and cholesterol. He says he now feels not just healthier, but also calmer, because he knows he won't miss an important signal. So, if you feel something similar, sudden numbness, weakness on one side, don't wait, don't guess. It's not nothing. It's a reason to seek medical help immediately. Your body is your most loyal ally. Learn to listen to it. The next point, often blamed on fatigue or age, sudden vision problems in one or both eyes. This could be blurriness, double vision, or even complete but temporary loss of vision in one eye. Oh, things went dark for a second. Probably my blood pressure spiked, or I just spent too long knitting chess on the computer. Let me tell you the story of Elizabeth. She was 72. She loved doing crosswords. One evening, sitting with her puzzle book, she suddenly noticed that her right eye seemed covered by a veil, the letters blurred. She got scared, squeezed her eyes shut, rubbed her eye. After a minute or two, her vision returned. Elizabeth sighed with relief. My eyes are probably just tired, she decided. It's about time I got stronger glasses anyway. She was always a bit of a hypochondriac and tried not to dwell on bad thoughts, not to wind herself up. It seemed embarrassing to complain about such little things. After all, everyone her age has aches and pains. She didn't go to the doctor. A week later, she had a stroke. Fortunately, they managed to save her, but the right side of her body remained partially paralyzed. Later, doctors explained that the temporary blurred vision had been a very serious warning sign. It could have been caused by a tiny clot that temporarily blocked an artery supplying the eye or the visual centers in the brain. Imagine a window through which you see the world, and suddenly, someone briefly draws the curtain on one side. It's not just dust in the eye, it's a sign that something is wrong with the window's mechanism. The brain and eyes are closely connected, and problems with brain blood supply very often manifest through visual disturbances. After a long rehabilitation, Elizabeth learned to live in a new way. She often says, "If only I had known then. If only I hadn't brushed it off." So, if your vision suddenly blurs, you see double, or you lose sight, even for a short time. It's not fatigue. It's an emergency. Call emergency services or go to the hospital immediately. Your eyesight is a priceless gift, and such symptoms can signal a threat not only to your eyes, but to your life. Don't risk this gift. The third strange symptom we often don't pay proper attention to: sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or coordination. We might think, "My head spun a bit, probably stood up too fast," or "The weather's changing again, my vessels are reacting," especially if it passed quickly. Arthur, an energetic 70-year-old gentleman who loved gardening, once bent down to pick up a watering can and felt a sharp wave of dizziness. The world swayed, and he almost fell. He sat down on a bench, his head was pounding, and he felt unsteady, like being on the deck of a swaying ship. After a few minutes, it passed. Arthur was a bit scared, but quickly found an explanation. Overheated in the sun, and my age, what can you do? He was used to being stoic, not complaining. He boxed in his youth, and the thought that he might be a weakling seemed humiliating. He decided to just rest more in the shade and drink water. But a couple of days later, the episode repeated while he was simply walking across the room. His wife insisted he see a doctor. Tests revealed problems with blood supply to the cerebellum, the part of the brain responsible for coordination and balance. It was a serious warning. Doctors explained to Arthur, "Imagine an experienced tightrope walker. That's your cerebellum, constantly maintaining balance. And suddenly, someone starts shaking the rope. That's the disturbed blood flow. The tightrope walker might stay up once, twice, but the risk of falling is huge. Sudden dizziness, especially if accompanied by unsteadiness, difficulty walking, feeling like you're being pulled to one side, isn't just feeling dizzy. It can be a sign of stroke, especially if the problem arises suddenly and without apparent cause. Thanks to seeking timely medical help, Arthur's hypertension treatment was adjusted, and he was prescribed medication to improve cerebral circulation. He could enjoy gardening again, but now he knows. His body talks to him, and these signals must be respected. So, if you suddenly feel unsteady, if the ground seems to shift beneath your feet for no reason, don't blame it on age or the weather. It could be an SOS signal from your brain. Don't ignore it. Get checked. Your ability to stand firmly on your feet is your independence. The fourth symptom, which often causes embarrassment and a desire to hide it: sudden difficulty with speech or understanding speech. A person might suddenly start speaking indistinctly, as if their mouth is full of mush, confusing words, being unable to find the right word, or not understanding what others are saying. The first reaction is often confusion, embarrassment. What am I saying? I must be tired. My tongue is tied. Helen, a sociable 65-year-old lady who loved chatting with friends on the phone, suddenly realized during a conversation that she couldn't pronounce a simple word. It was as if her tongue wouldn't obey. Words got jumbled. Her friend on the other end asked, "Helen, are you okay? You sound strange." Helen felt embarrassed, quickly ended the call, blaming it on feeling unwell. She felt scared and ashamed. She thought, "Am I getting old and senile?" She didn't tell anyone about the episode, hoping it wouldn't happen again. But a few hours later, she felt worse. Her speech became completely slurred, and her right arm grew weak. Fortunately, her son visited and immediately called an ambulance. It was an ischemic stroke affecting the speech center of her brain. Doctors said that if help had arrived earlier, when the first speech problems appeared, the consequences could have been much less severe. Imagine your brain as a complex radio station. The speech center is the microphone and speaker. And due to power supply, blood flow issues, interference begins. The sound gets distorted, words disappear. This isn't just bad reception, it's a breakdown at the station. Sudden problems with speech, slurring, difficulty finding words, not understanding spoken language, are among the most characteristic signs of a stroke, the so-called fast test face-arm speech time. Don't be ashamed of this. Don't try to hide it. If you notice this in yourself or a loved one, act immediately. Time here is brain. Every minute counts. Helen went through a long process of speech recovery with a therapist. She was able to communicate again, but she always says, "My silence in that first moment was my biggest mistake." Don't stay silent if your tongue suddenly disobeys you. It's a cry for help that needs to be heard. The fifth symptom, often treated with a painkiller, a sudden, very severe headache, unlike any usual one. Sometimes described as the worst headache of my life. It might be accompanied by nausea, vomiting, sensitivity to light. We're used to headaches, from fatigue, stress, blood pressure. Many have their trusted pills. I'll take an aspirin pain reliever, lie down, and it'll pass. David, 69, had suffered from migraines since he was young, so he treated headaches almost like old friends. But one evening, he was struck by pain of a completely different nature, sharp, stunning, like a lightning strike to the back of the head. It was so intense, he couldn't even open his eyes. He felt nauseous. His wife offered him his usual migraine medication, but David instinctively felt this was something different, something terrible. He was always a rational person, not prone to panic, but this pain was beyond anything he'd experienced. He remembered reading somewhere that a thunderclap headache could be a sign of bleeding in the brain. Despite feeling weak and sick, he asked his wife to call an ambulance. His fears were confirmed. It was a subarachnoid hemorrhage caused by a ruptured aneurysm in a brain blood vessel. He was immediately hospitalized and operated on. Doctors said his quick reaction and the fact that he didn't just take a pill and wait saved his life. Imagine the plumbing system in your house. A normal headache is like a small clog or temporary pressure increase in the pipes. But a sudden, unbearable pain, that's like a burst pipe. Water, blood, gushes out, damaging everything around it. Waiting for it to pass on its own, or trying to plug the leak with a cloth, a regular pain pill, is mortally dangerous. If you or someone close to you suddenly experiences the worst, atypical headache ever, especially if accompanied by neck stiffness, difficulty bending head to chest, nausea, vomiting, loss of consciousness, call emergency services immediately. This could be a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding, and here, time is measured not even in minutes, but seconds. David fully recovered and now always says, "Trust your intuition. If the pain feels unusually terrifying, it probably is. Don't be a hero. Don't endure a thunderclap headache. Your life is more valuable." And finally, the sixth, but no less important point. It's not even a symptom, but a change in our attitude. Replace fear and denial with vigilance and readiness to act. Many of us fear doctors, fear hearing a bad diagnosis, fear appearing weak or bothersome. We postpone doctor visits, don't mention strange symptoms, hoping it will blow over. Margaret, 75, had always been a very independent woman. After her husband's death, she lived alone and was terrified of becoming a burden to her children. She had high blood pressure, but often forgot to take her medication or took it when she remembered. Sometimes she experienced palpitations or light dizziness, but she attributed it to anxiety or fatigue. She felt that if she started complaining, her children would take her in, robbing her of her independence. This fear was stronger than the fear of illness. She built a wall of denial around herself. "I'm fine." But one day, she talked to an old friend who had recently had a mini-stroke. The friend explained how important it was to control blood pressure, how crucial it was not to miss warning signs. This conversation made Margaret think. She realized her fear of dependency could lead to a much worse dependency on the consequences of a stroke. She decided to change her approach. Imagine your health as a garden that needs tending. Blood pressure, cholesterol, sugar, they are like weeds or pests. Ignoring them, pretending they aren't there, means letting them destroy your garden. but regularly caring for it, weeding, watering, fertilizing, i.e., taking medication, watching your diet, being active, isn't weakness, it's the wisdom of a careful gardener. Margaret made an appointment with a cardiologist, honestly shared all her concerns and symptoms. They found the right modern therapy for her, explained the importance of taking medication regularly. She bought a blood pressure monitor and started checking it herself. She didn't become less independent. On the contrary, she felt more in control of her life and health. She realized that taking care of herself is a sign of strength, not weakness. Changing your attitude is key. Stop being afraid and denying. Start cooperating with your body and your doctors. Regular checkups, managing chronic conditions, hypertension, diabetes, arrhythmia, a healthy lifestyle. These aren't guarantees against everything, but they are your real chance to significantly reduce the risk of stroke and live a long, active life. Be vigilant, but don't panic. Knowledge is your best protection. Act consciously and take care of yourself. So, today we've talked about difficult yet vitally important things, about those strange symptoms that might be the first harbingers of a stroke, and how crucial it is not to brush them off, not to blame them on age or fatigue. Remember the stories of Michael, Elizabeth, Arthur, Helen, David, Margaret. Their experiences show that vigilance and timely action can change everything. Your age is not a burden. It's a treasure trove of experience and wisdom. You've lived a long, full life, raised children, grandchildren. You know and can do so much. And you absolutely deserve to live many more healthy, joyful, and meaningful years. Don't let fear or false shame rob you of this opportunity. Listen to yourself. Trust your intuition. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your health is in your hands, and you have every right to take care of it. Remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfishness. It's the highest form of wisdom and love for life. Please take care of yourselves and be well.